6 games are on the Patriot League schedule for this weekend in football, including a matchup between Fordham and Lehigh, as well as 4 Patriot League versus Ivy League battles. Holy Cross will open the weekend slate with a Friday night road trip to Harvard. On Saturday, Colgate will travel to Yale, Georgetown will host Brown, and Bucknell will welcome in Cornell. Lafayette will take its undefeated record on the road to Robert Morris. Fordham will travel to number 11 Lehigh for a 12:30 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. The Mountain Hawks are 22-2 against the Rams all time, including an 11-0 mark at Goodman Stadium. The Rams bring in a strong running game with the league's best running back in Carlton Kuntz, who has amassed 608 yards on 94 carries. Last week, he exploded for 250 yards against Columbia. Lehigh has been led by quarterback Michael Colvin, who is the league's top passer with 941 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's also one of the league's best runners with 201 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. Lafayette opened league play last week with a win over Bucknell, and now the Leopards will look to remain undefeated when they travel to Robert Morris. The Colonials haven't won a game yet in 2012, but Lafayette coach Frank Tavani knows his team cannot take Robert Morris lightly.
We know they're a physical ball club. They play in a physical conference. Had scholarships for some time. Dangerous team now. You know, we all know what North Dakota State's like traveling out there. So you take that game out of there, and the other 2 games, give or take a few plays, as always, here or there, they could be sitting 2-1 right now. So you got a hungry football team that hasn't won yet, and their quarterback missed the first 2 games. So now they, obviously got him back, and seemed to get a little healthier this week. So I'm sure we'll see a much different, much better, a much improved Robert Morris team than we've seen the last 3 weeks.
The Bucknell Bison will look to beat Cornell for the first time in 6 years when the 2 kick off in Lewisburg on Saturday. Both teams enter the contest having opened league play a week ago. Cornell is 1-0 in the Ivy League after a win over Yale last week, while Bucknell lost to Lafayette despite a 2-touchdown performance by quarterback Brandon Wesley. Coach Joe Susan is looking for his junior quarterback to string together some long drives on Saturday.
Things that we've got to realize is that they will complete some passes. We've got to keep them out of the end zone. The other thing we've got to do a better job of is maintaining possessions, creating long possessions where we get time of possession in our advantage. It keeps their offense off the field.
On Friday, Holy Cross will travel to Harvard looking for its first win of the 2012 season. Harvard is 2-0 and ranked 24th in the nation, and the Crimson haven't lost since the Crusaders beat them 30-22 in the 3rd week of the 2011 season. Their 11-game winning streak is the longest in the nation.
I mean, they're on a roll right now, Bob. They're a really good club. They've been kind of on a pretty good roll now for about a decade. They have a talented team, very deep on the depth chart. You look at some of even their backup players, they're very talented as well.
In order for the Crusaders to get their first win of the season while ending Harvard's streak, Gilmore says his team needs to lengthen their drives with the help of the improving running game.
We have to string drive together on offense and stretch the field a lot more than we have been able to this last week especially. Our running game is starting to come along. I expect that to improve, even though we're going to be very challenged against a very good Harvard front. But we need to mix things up and keep them guessing a lot more from an offensive standpoint. On defense, we just have to make sure that we're not giving up any big plays. That was the one thing that got Dartmouth on the board. We gave up a big pass play to Dartmouth, and we were just a little bit off in our assignment there. It wasn't a total bust or anything, but we can't give a good team big plays to make things easier. We have to force them to drive down the field if they want to score points.
Georgetown will look to improve to 4-1 when they host Brown at 2 p.m. on Saturday. The Hoyas picked up their first win over an Ivy League opponent since 2003, and they'll look to make it 2 in a row behind their strong defense. The Hoyas have 8 turnovers on defense, and defensive back Jeremy Moore has scored touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. Running back Nick Campanella leads the Hoyas with 279 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. Colgate will look to get back in the win column after a tough 1-point loss to ranked Stony Brook last week. The Raiders will travel to Yale for a noon kickoff on Saturday, and it's the first meeting between the 2 schools since 2004. Colgate has been led on offense by the league's 2nd leading rusher, Jordan McCord, who has 545 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. Quarterback Gavin McCarney also has 4 rushing touchdowns and 5 passing scores. For highlights and scores from all the weekend's action, tune into Patriot League Roundup on Monday afternoon. You can also follow all the weekend's games by logging on to patriotleague.com.